When you think about the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or North Korea, what comes to your mind? Is it a land of great abundance? A wonderful and fair leader? With a penchant for sweets and heart attacks? Well, probably not all those things, maybe some of them though. I tend to think of nuclear weapons and incompetence. The North Koreans are ambitious but rubbish. Typically, that's in other fields more related to their army and nuclear weapons. But this video is about the Korean People's Navy. More specifically, their new destroyers of the Choe Hyon-class. These destroyers are certainly interesting in their design and brief history. Like, for example, when the Kang Kong, the second ship of the class, was launched in 2025, it was a complete failure and ended up looking like this. Not exactly how you want to be looking when you're the new pride of the fleet. I'm sure the people involved in this little mishap are living long and happy and fulfilling lives. But it begs the question, how did we get to this point? Let's start out by discussing the history of the Korean People's Navy. The Korean People's Navy, or the KPN, started in 1948 after the establishment of North Korea. The Soviet Union helped to organize the fledgling nation and equip the country's military. They mainly focused on equipping the army since, well, that would be the main force that would help unite the nation. Still, they provided the North Koreans with a small coastal naval force. During the Korean War, the DPRK mostly relied on the Army and Air Force, while the United Nations forces controlled the seas. The KPN used their patrol craft and mines to pursue limited coastal operations against UN forces. After the Korean War, the North Korean Navy was built up during the Cold War era with the help of the Soviet Union and China, creating a naval force comprising submarines, torpedo boats, missile boats, and coastal patrol ships. While many of the world's major navies were focused on their fleets of aircraft carriers and surface combatants, the KPN opted for an asymmetric strategy to counterbalance the huge technological advantage enjoyed by the United States and South Korea through hit-and-run tactics, espionage, and attacks from submarines and missiles. After the fall of the USSR in 1991, the Korean People's Navy entered an extended period of stagnation due to North Korea's economic downturn and the slowdown of the country's military modernization. The majority of their ships are outdated, consisting of mainly Soviet-made submarines and old frigates, as well as some Chinese craft. Nevertheless, despite the shortcomings of its fleet, the KPN remained heavily oriented towards coastal defense and asymmetric warfare. During the Cold War, the Navy was actively engaging in the Yellow Sea with South Korea. One such incident after the Cold War was the 1999 Battle of Yeopyeong. The resulting battle between North Korean and South Korean navies was a South Korean victory. Starting from the 2010s, however, under the leadership of Kim Jong Un, North Korea launched a program of modernizing the KPN in connection with the missile and nuclear programs of the country. Submarine-launched ballistic missiles were developed, experimental ballistic missile submarines were constructed, and new missile-equipped ships appeared. As a result of such rapid modernization, well, as rapid as the DPRK could manage, and when you're run by a guy with this haircut and a fetish for Dennis Rodman, it can't be that quick. But by the middle of the 2020s, North Korea had its largest and most modern ships, the 5,000-ton Choe Hyon-class destroyers. The development of these destroyers represents the largest and most ambitious surface warship project in the history of the Korean People's Navy, as part of a larger effort initiated by Kim Jong Un to equip the North Korean military with the latest missile and nuclear delivery technologies. Certainly an interesting move by the big fella. The Choe Hyon-class seems to have been a direct product of naval modernization that Kim openly discussed during his visits to the Nampo shipyard in 2024, which I know have been making fun of Kim, but that jacket is very cool. According to Kim in his cool leather jacket, naval expansion would be one of the key priorities over the period between the completion of the current 5-year plan and the next iteration. The lead ship of the Choe Hyon-class destroyers made its first appearance in December 2024 and was finally launched in April 2025 as North Korea's biggest and most technologically advanced surface vessel, weighing about 5,000 tons. When looking at the ships, you can tell there are many similarities between Russian and Chinese naval vessels, which one can conclude that Russia's involvement in the design of the vessel was likely owing to increasing military cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang. Granted, the foreign influence is definitely an inference on my part, so take that with a grain of salt, and honestly pretty much all the information in this video. Here are the particulars to the best of my knowledge. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I will say I was experimenting with AI to create a graphic or two, since I don't have the budget for an artist yet. Also, I will say I definitely doubt the capabilities of these destroyers, because this is a lot of armament on such little displacement. But again, take it with a grain of salt. Before we continue, we should address the elephant in the room. Move over, Kim, we're not talking about you, but the designation of destroyer. These warships of the Choe Hyon-class are termed destroyers by North Korea. However, compared to those built by the Americans or South Koreans, or quite frankly anyone with a military presence in that part of the world, the vessels are something more akin to a frigate or patrol craft. A somewhat apt comparison with their southern neighbors would be the class of frigates. I tried my best with that pronunciation, and I really couldn't get it. With a displacement of roughly 5,000 tons, the North Korean ships are considerably smaller than their US Navy counterparts of the Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, whose displacement ranged from 8,300 tons to 10,000 plus, fully loaded, and also have superior technology aboard, even though for the most part they are older ships. The modern South Korean destroyers are more likely than not far superior vessels in terms of capabilities in every imaginable way. Still, I will give the North Koreans credit. They are by far and away their largest and most powerful surface ships, so might as well give them an intimidating and imposing designation to make them seem bigger than they actually are. Solid work by the son of the inventor of the hamburger. Also, as a YouTuber who mainly covers the late 19th century to World War II content, these designations are a bit more squishy, but we should get to the real juicy part of this little story, the launch of the Kang Kong. Well, the first one and the more funny one. The Choe Hyon launched to great fanfare in April 2025 at Nampo Shipyard, with Kim and North Korean leaders attending the launch. But a month later, the second ship, Kang Kong, was scheduled to launch. What happened next was one of the worst disasters in the modern history of the Korean People's Navy. The Kang Kong was launched from the Chongjin shipyard in May 2025, and its bow was lodged on the way out of the launchway, while the stern had already entered the water. This led to a partial capsizing of the 5,000-ton vessel, which sustained considerable structural damage during the launch witnessed by Kim Jong Un, which one can assume old Kim was not too pleased about it. Subsequent satellite images confirmed that the destroyer was lying on its side under tarps while the emergency salvage operation began. According to reports, Kim Jong Un branded the disaster a criminal act, resulting from negligence, with some military and shipyard personnel arrested following the incident. Probably not a great thing for those people who were blamed. Even after suffering considerable damage and flooding, North Korea succeeded in getting the ship back afloat in just a few weeks. With all things considered, you do have to commend the North Koreans for refloating the vessel so quickly, but a certain image of George Bush does come to mind. Following the successful recommissioning of the Kang Kong in June, the Choe Hyon-class destroyer project seems to have received immediate priority from the North Korean regime. Even though uncertainties remain over the actual condition of the damaged ship, the flagship, the Choe Hyon, continues her operational trials, forming the backbone of North Korea's naval modernization drive through the extensive testing of various missile types in 2026, including strategic and anti-ship cruise missiles. Kim Jong Un himself made several appearances at the test launchings, highlighting how important he deems these destroyers in enhancing North Korea's offensive naval capabilities and sea-based nuclear deterrent. At the same time, the regime declared its intentions to further build up the fleet, with more destroyers allegedly being built at key shipyards like Nampo. While the Kang Kong certainly isn't in the spotlight, but it's surely preparing somewhere in the background, and I seriously do question where it is. The North Korean state media has generally characterized the Choe Hyon destroyer project as a great success. I mean, why wouldn't they? But what do you think? What do you think of these vessels? Let me know down below. I think again, take this with a grain of salt. They're decent patrol craft, but certainly the North Koreans intended them to play an active role, more than patrolling in whatever conflict they have in mind, specifically with their nuclear capabilities. I think their particulars are a bit overblown, and they probably don't have the capabilities they claim they have, but still decent ships overall. A bit of a different video, I know. We've never covered anything this modern, and it's certainly a scary subject for me, but I'm willing to try some new things. Hopefully you all found it entertaining. Please remember to like and subscribe as it'll help the channel to grow. Until next time, my friends, have a great week.